The first thing we're going to look into is the trajectory. So the rocket experiences some forces and moments which will cause it to move. So we're going to look into it in more depth briefly. But well, we have thrust force over here, which is the force caused by the motor. We have weight, and we have an aerodynamic force. So these are three basic forces a rocket experiences. So with these three forces, if we then input them in the equations of motion, so it's let's say you're familiar with them. It's just Newton's law, and the same with the rotational one, which is maybe you're not so familiar with it, but yeah, it's a sum of the moments are equal to the moments of inertia times the let's put angular acceleration. So we have equations of motion. Okay. And then if we could predict these forces, we could then predict the acceleration the rocket has. And once we have the accelerations, we can find the velocities and the position. Okay. And in the case of the momentum equation, the moment equation, the torque equation, let's call it. Well, we're going to find the angular velocity and the angle. Okay, so basically, if we can predict which forces we have, we could predict well, the acceleration and the position, the trajectory, let's say, of the rocket. So our task here is how do you find these forces? Then how do we apply them in the equations of motion? And then from there, how can we find the rest of the variables? So if we have all this, the acceleration, the velocity, and the position of the rocket, well, we know the trajectory. We're going to know, we're going to be able to describe the exact trajectory for our rocket. Section 2.1 will only cover the say the translational, okay, the translational, this part. Let's put one color. Okay, we're going to talk about this part of the equations. So we're only going to look at how the rocket is moving, not well, the translation of the rocket, not the, let's say, the wobbles, how it stabilizes it. That's for section. This is for section 2.1, trajectory, and we're going to talk about all this, which is the stabilization of the rocket, and section 2.2, which is stability. All right. So I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm not going to talk about how to predict these forces first, but first I'm going to let's say I'm going to suppose that we know these forces, and I'm going to calculate the trajectory that the rocket is going to have. So that's what I'm going to focus on, 2.1 trajectory. And then these three forces, we're gonna discover how to, how to predict them gradually.